I've been thinking what you've all been thinking for the last 15 years, and don't worry, I'm not afraid to say it. Where the hell did this thing come from? I mean, seriously, look at this thing. How do you even get that from something that's made of this world? Well, that's what we're here to talk about today, instead of 3 weeks ago when it was actually relevant, because my CPU on my computer actually started to melt. Looks like Family Guy isn't just too hot for TV, it's too hot for my PC. Yes, that's the caliber of humor we're going to be dealing with today, because we're talking about the Family Guy pilot, something that I've wanted to talk about for quite some time, but never did because we didn't used to have the full Family Guy pilot. We used to have the first 9-11 minutes or so, but now we have the entire thing. So in my eyes, there's no better time to talk about this, except for 3 or 4 weeks ago when it actually released and would have been relevant. But hey, there's no second better time to talk about the Family Guy pilots. And to be clear, there really is only one Family Guy original pilot. There's the final version of the episode that released as Season 1, Episode 1, and premiered right after the Super Bowl. But there are other things, other projects that acted as predecessors to the Family Guy that we have today in all of its horrible glory. So me am Mr. Cow, and me am show you where am Peter Griffin come from today. The first quote-unquote pilot we're talking about today is The Life of Larry. I know what you guys are thinking. That guy's not even called Peter. How the hell could this be a Family Guy predecessor? Hold on, please, just bear with me. The Life of Larry was Seth MacFarlane's thesis project at the Rhode Island School of Design. The project is made up of animated segments featuring Larry, a middle-aged man with his talking dog Steve, his loving wife Lois, and his misfit son Milt, who looks positively terrifying. And if you haven't been able to piece it together yet, Larry is the original version of Peter Griffin, Steve is the original version of Malloy, Lois is the original version of Francine, and Milt is the original version of Sid the Science Kid. I know, it's crazy, they all came from this, but hey, we're really only focused on the Peter Griffin part. Now, paired with this animated story are short bits of narration from Seth MacFarlane himself in live action.
Oh, hi there. You scared the crap out of me. I'm Seth MacFarlane, Associate Production Coordinating Directorial Associate Managing Departmental Divisional Office Supervisor of the International Network Amalgamation Distributors Corporation Management Organizational Association of Men Who Like Pussy.
Now, this short works really well as a brief introduction to Larry and Steve, but it's an even better showcase of Seth MacFarlane's overall sense of humor. There's a lot of his personality in this, which is fitting because it's a thesis project at school. You know, it better have a piece of you inside of it. If you know anything about Seth MacFarlane, he loves his fart jokes, and he loves his Star Trek. And this short, in large part, is a Star Trek the Original Series parody.
Captain, sensors are picking up a planetary mass which does not appear on any of our star charts.
My God, a totally new world, rife with fresh challenges for a bold, brash young whippersnapper like myself. Mr. Sulu, ahead warp 9.
What do you think they eat?
Oh, yes, I don't know, it's some kind of like space jerky or something, I guess.
Yeah, because they're obviously, Shatner is obviously, getting fed.
Now, in complete fairness, if you don't give a shit about Star Trek and you go back and try to watch this, it's probably going to be the low part of the short for you. However, you're dealing with a Trekkie, my friends. That's what they call us. That's what we're classified as by the government. And yes, I do really like the original series and The Next Generation, a few of the movies. I don't think I've seen anything else or liked anything else that I've seen. I don't mind the new movies. They're okay. I saw them when I was like 9, so... there's that. Oh, except for the part where Spock just starts screaming and beating the shit out of somebody. Put that in real quick. But anyways, that's enough about Star Trek. In relation to Family Guy, The Life of Larry has a lot of similarities. From Larry's voice...
I hate it when he does this, I mean, is it too much for a kid to just call his parents if he's going to be out late?
To Steve's voice, which of course would become Brian's voice, sounding very similar.
For God's sakes, people are trying to sleep around here.
To even jokes that were in this thesis project that wound up in the original pilot and the final first episode of Family Guy. It all started way back when in 1995.
I got it, that's the guy from Big. Tom Hanks, that's his name. Oh, funny guy, Tom Hanks. Let me tell you, I've seen him in other stuff. Listen, anything that comes out of that guy's mouth, you know it's going to be a stitch.
I have AIDS.
Now that is funny. I got it. That's the guy from Big. Tom Hanks, that's it. Oh, funny guy, Tom Hanks. Anything he says is a stitch.
I have AIDS.
I got it. That's the guy from Big. Tom Hanks, that's it. Oh, funny guy, Tom Hanks. Everything he says is a stitch.
I have AIDS.
Now, if you have never seen this before, I'm sure the art style is rather striking to you. It is this Hanna-Barbera-esque art style in a lot of ways, which I'm sure a lot of you associate with like Saturday morning cartoons, or for an older bunch of you or for fans of Adult Swim, you might associate the Hanna-Barbera art style with things like Space Ghost Coast to Coast or Harvey Birdman Attorney at Law. That's kind of where I associate with it the most. I watched some Flintstones as the kid, some Jetsons, but in large part, my experience with Hanna-Barbera came through Adult Swim, and it got me thinking, because this is the predecessor to Family Guy. We all know the art style would change when the show got picked up at Fox, but what if it stayed in this Hanna-Barbera art style? I know it's just like a what-if situation, but could you imagine if Family Guy came out looking like this, with a higher budget, with the same jokes and all that stuff? Would it still have been successful? And if it was successful, would that mean that there would be shows later down the line that would adopt this Hanna-Barbera-esque art style in order to make an adult animated comedy show that's a little bit raunchy and a little bit crazy? Think of stuff like Brickleberry, which were very much emulating that Flash animated Family Guy art style. Would they have instead gone for this Hanna-Barbera style because they're, you know, talentless hacks? It's all just a what-if situation. I think it's interesting to think about because I do really like The Life of Larry. I think it's pretty damn funny, and if you like early Family Guy, there's a lot here to enjoy, and especially just for looking at it as what Family Guy started out as, it's a lot of fun. In fact, it was so much fun that Hanna-Barbera would actually wind up hiring Seth MacFarlane. Yeah, who would have thought Hanna-Barbera likes stuff that looks like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon? I mean, it's crazy. The head of development over at Hanna-Barbera saw The Life of Larry and said, hey, why don't you make a sequel to that with us for the What a Cartoon block on Cartoon Network? So that's exactly what Seth MacFarlane did, and in 1997, we got Larry and Steve, a sequel that sees the family aspect of the story completely dropped to instead focus on the story of a middle-aged man and a talking dog called Steve that only he can understand.
Hi there. My name's Steve. I'm a dog, in case you're, well, stupid. I came that close to breakfasting with my maker this morning.
This short has a lot of great humor. It's very slapsticky. It's very Saturday morning cartoon-esque, the kind of thing you would expect from your traditional Hanna-Barbera cartoon. There's one joke in Larry and Steve that I stand by might be the funniest joke in any of the projects we're talking about today. It's this joke right here.
Listen to me. If you don't get me out of here, I will be put to sleep. Are you listening? Do you understand me? You will be indirectly responsible for the resulting euthanasia.
Oh boy, they got enough kids over there as it is.
It's so dumb and so simple and so funny. I just love it so much. It sounds like something Peter Griffin would say, which of course, that's what we're getting at here. This is Brian and Peter in their earliest form. We also get to see what a lot of people call the early version of Quagmire, this character right here, this pilot.
Ricky, I know you've never flown a plane before, but why don't you take the controls while I go in the back and grab a wee nip of the creature?
It seems like a bit of a reach to say that that's the early version of Quagmire, but hey, he became a pilot in the show, and he kind of sounds similar because Seth MacFarlane's voicing him, so to each their own, I guess. I'm really more interested in Larry and Steve in this short. I think they work great together. I think they're funny. Of course, this is very slapsticky. It's not really all that similar to Family Guy. There's a few adult-themed jokes for sure, but overall, this is aimed at a slightly younger audience. It's a good bit more tame. I do think that the subject matter isn't really aimed at a younger audience, so it's a little hard to pinpoint. It feels like it's on the cusp of becoming an adult animated TV show, but it just hasn't been given that push yet, because the whole story of this is that Steve is about to be put down, but Larry comes by just in time to save him, and then they go on a little adventure to furnish Steve's new room in Larry's apartment. Larry and Steve is a fun time. There's not a ton to talk about with it because it kind of drops that whole family aspect of Family Guy. It should just be called Guy. Am I right? Am I right? All right. Okay. Well, lucky for us, the family aspect of Family Guy was about to be added back because some people at Fox saw the Larry shorts and offered Seth MacFarlane $50,000 to make a pilot called Family Guy, using the characters from these shorts. Now, I know what you're all thinking, $50,000? Well, that's not too shabby right there, except it usually costs far more to make a pilot for a newly conceived animated series where you're doing new character design, you're basically making everything from scratch. Luckily for Seth MacFarlane, he had a lot to draw on with his thesis project. It's honestly probably the reason so many jokes were reused, because Seth MacFarlane put together this Family Guy pilot almost completely alone. He had some help from a guy called Jim Keeshan and his production studio, and of course, he helped out so much that at one point, Jim Keeshan tried to assume ownership of the Family Guy pilot in a lawsuit, and it was quickly dismissed because most of the jokes and characters were from things Seth MacFarlane already made, so I don't know what the fuck he was thinking.
I do want the credit without any of the blame.
So anyways, Seth MacFarlane was working on a little show called Family Guy, and he conceived of a character called Peter Griffin, and also a character called Brian the Dog, and also a character called Lois the Woman. He came up with other characters too, but that was the core of this story, and from there, it blossomed. He incorporated so many aspects of the life of Larry and Steve, pushing it all forward into what we have today. For the first time ever, we are able to see, on the Mr. Cow channel, I should specify, the first time ever on the Mr. Cow channel, we're able to see the full, original Family Guy pilot.
Ah, smoking. How does a boy like that go so wrong?
Well, I live in a crummy neighborhood.
The Bradys?
Oh, hell yeah. They got robbers, thugs, drug dealers, you name it.
You folks want some pancakes?
No, thank you. See, that's the worst we got is Jemima's witnesses.
You know, as a massive fan of 30% of Family Guy, I have been waiting for this day for some time. It is so cool to see how everything got started, finally with the full picture. But I gotta say, it's kind of exactly what you would expect. It's basically the pilot episode, the first episode of Family Guy, but on a much lower budget and a little bit sloppier.
Yet miraculously, Job was still able to keep his dignity.
Whoa, is that really the blood of Christ?
Yes.
Man, that guy must have been wasted 24 hours a day, huh?
Yet miraculously, Job was still able to retain his dignity.
Whoa, is that really the blood of Christ?
Yes?
Man, that guy must have been wasted 24 hours a day, huh?
But even though it's exactly what I was expecting, it still charms the shit out of me. I love seeing these early versions of the characters. I love the handcrafted nature of the pilot. It feels so tangible and homemade because it sort of was homemade. It has that quality to it. And knowing what I know now about the life of Larry and how much of Seth MacFarlane's personality was injected into that for his thesis project, it makes this pilot feel a lot more personal. It makes it feel like the culmination of years of work, and it worked out pretty damn well for him considering how successful Family Guy has been. It's so satisfying to finally have this full original pilot. It's so much fun to watch, and if you're a fan of early Family Guy, absolutely give the thing a try. You won't regret it. It's fun to just sit down and see how everything got started. These sloppy early designs, the janky animation sometimes. I love the part where Peter's hand comes up at the end and they do a little freeze frame. It looks so janky. His arm's like weird and fat and curved. I just love it. It charms the shit out of me. I already said that, but it really does. I just wish there was more interesting stuff to talk about with it, because if you've seen the first episode of Family Guy, you've kind of already seen this original pilot. It's just a different version of that. It's a little bit sloppier. And look, I could sit here all day and be like, hey, look, this joke from The Life of Larry was used in the original pilot and then made it into the final first episode of Family Guy. Isn't that cool? And we could do that for a little while, and it's neat and all, but I really think the best way to experience these is just to sit down and watch them all, especially if you're a fan of Family Guy. It's a great time, and they all still have merits, and it's really interesting to see how everything came together over time. So I recommend to each and every one of you to watch through all three of these, all right? I gave you a nice brief overview here, kind of told you the story of how things came to be, but now it's time for you to experience it and go through some early Family Guy yourself.
Now, kids, this is not a good example. Daddy only drank so the Statue of Liberty would take her clothes off. Oh, I tell you, Brian, all the rumors about dropping the soap are true.
Really?
Oh, yeah, you can't hold on to that thing to save your life. Oh, I was slipping all over the place. Guys were laughing.
Hey, there's a guy who couldn't hold on to the soap.
Oh, that was classic. Then I had that job as the sneeze guard for the salad bar at that restaurant. Take it outside, lady. And then I thought I could win some money in that talent show.
And the grand prize goes to the Von Trapp Family Singers.
Oh, that is bullshit.
They're gone!
Oh, yes. And I still didn't win.
If you laughed or chuckled or enjoyed anything I just showed you from this pilot, then seriously, go watch this shit. It's great, you'll have a wonderful time, and you'll experience something new and interesting in a funky, fresh way, as the young kids say. It's been a really long road to this point to finally have the full original Family Guy pilot, and it would be a damn shame if we all didn't watch and appreciate it for what it is, which is in reality just, you know, the first episode of Family Guy, but a little bit sloppier. So I guess if that doesn't appeal to you, stick around on Mr. Cow, where next time we might be talking about South Park again. Maybe we'll talk about Family Guy. It's been a minute since we talked about American Dad. Could talk about that. Still have to make a review of Common Side Effects. It's really good, just didn't have time to. There it is! see you guys later. Bye. That's the whole video. That's it. We're done now. Okay, one more Family Guy joke.
Whoa, ass ahoy.
Yeah, see that? Watch that shit. Go watch it right now. Enjoy it. You know the story now. Now appreciate the art.